One day you look in the mirror and pause. The face looks like yours, but unfamiliar. The eyes hold stories you don't remember living. You search for the version of you who felt certain. But that version feels distant, almost imagined. You wonder when you started feeling like a stranger. There is no single moment you can point to. Change crept in quietly, like fog slowly filling a room. You tried to keep up with life, but life kept reshaping you without asking. Responsibilities piled on top of your old self. Grief carved new lines into your heart. Expectations smothered the things you loved. You kept going anyway, because stopping felt dangerous. Because others needed you to stay steady, so you buried your confusion. You smiled while feeling empty. You worked while feeling lost. You laughed without recognizing your own voice. Till one day, the dissonance became too loud. You felt split in two, the person living your life and the one watching from a distance. This is the quiet crisis of identity. It hides beneath functioning. No one notices from the outside, but inside it aches. But you start questioning every choice you've made. Did you choose this life or stumble into it? Did you shape your days or get swept away by them? The questions spiral, and each answer feels hollow, so you stop answering. You stop asking. You go numb. This numbness feels like safety at first, a pause from the chaos. But over time, numbness becomes its own cage. You stop noticing beauty. You stop seeking joy. You stop missing yourself because you forget what you were like. This forgetting hurts in ways you can't explain. It is grief without a clear loss. You are mourning someone still alive, someone inside you, buried under layers. This mourning confuses people. They see you functioning and think you're fine. They cannot see your disconnection. You learn to hide it well. You laugh at the right moments. You finish your tasks. You play your part. But you do not feel real. You feel like a hollow version of someone you once knew. This hollowness frightens you because you remember when you felt full, when colors reached you, when music stirred your chest, when silence felt peaceful, not threatening. Those memories make the distance sharper. They remind you of how much has faded. You wonder if you will ever return to that self, if that self still exists somewhere, or if she dissolved completely during the storms. You search your memories for clues. You flip through old photos, hoping to recognize your own eyes. You reread your old journals, hoping for familiar thoughts. You find fragments, but they feel foreign, like artifacts from another life. This disconnection scares you, because identity is your anchor. And without it, you feel adrift. Drifting without knowing where you're going or who is steering. The world tells you to reinvent yourself. But you don't want reinvention. You want recognition. You want to come home to yourself, yet you don't know the way back. You don't even know what back means anymore, because life has changed too much. And so have you. Change is natural, they say. But this feels like erasure, not growth. Like losing your outline entirely. This is the part no one warns you about. That becoming someone new can feel like losing someone beloved, even if that someone is you. You miss your old laughter. You miss your old ease. You miss the way you trusted yourself. Now you second-guess every decision, every preference, every word you speak. You long for a moment of certainty. Just one glimpse of the self you remember. Even if it's fleeting. Even if it's fragile. The first step is to name what's happening. You're not broken, you are disoriented. You have drifted far from your inner landmarks, and you are trying to navigate without a map. This is not weakness. It is evidence you've endured more than anyone saw. Life pulled you in many directions. Some paths you chose, others were forced on you. And through it all, you kept moving. You adapted because survival required it. But adaptation has a cost. Sometimes it buries the parts of you that feel like home. You learned how to perform stability, how to silence questions, how to keep going without stopping to ask if you want to. That silence became normal, until it swallowed your voice. And now you are left with the echo. A faint outline of who you used to be. This is the quiet crisis. It rarely explodes. It lingers in the background, blurs your reflection until you no longer recognize it. It convinces you something is wrong with you. But this is not dysfunction. It is a sign of deep change. A sign your old identity no longer fits the life you are living. Like a garment grown too small. It once fit perfectly. It held you safely. Now it constricts. You do not know what else to wear. So you keep wearing it, because the unknown feels scarier than the discomfort you know. This is human. Cling to what once anchored us, even when it pulls us under. You are not failing by feeling lost. You are responding to change. And change disrupts identity, especially when it arrives through trauma or sudden loss. Trauma shatters the story you tell about who you are. It rearranges your sense of time. Before and after become blurred. You stop trusting the old version of you because she didn't see it coming. If she missed it, maybe she was never real. This doubt seeps into everything, even your happiest memories. They feel contaminated by what followed. This is part of the disconnection. It isn't truth. It's grief. Grief erases continuity. It makes your story feel like fragments, like puzzle pieces from different boxes. You try to fit them together, but they won't align. And so you start thinking you must be the problem. But your story is not broken. It is unfinished. You are between versions of yourself. It's not lost. In transit, this liminal space is uncomfortable. It's because there are no markers. It's no titles, no roles, no clear lines. You float between who you were and who you are becoming. And floating feels like failure in a world obsessed with progress. But floating is part of transformation, like the pause between breaths, like the stillness before a tide returns. You are not empty. You are reassembling. Slowly, quietly, at a pace the outside world will not understand. That misunderstanding hurts, because people expect clarity from you. They want the old version back. They want you to reassure them that you are stable. But stability requires authenticity, and authenticity requires patience. So you stop explaining. You stop trying to prove you are okay. You hold your disorientation gently. You stop calling it failure. You start calling it transition. You remind yourself this is temporary. That feeling lost is part of becoming found. You will not feel like this forever. Your identity is not gone. It is scattered, waiting to be gathered, waiting for your permission to return. This crisis is not the end of you. It is the space where your next self will grow. Growth often begins in silence, and you are learning to listen again. When you feel scattered, begin gently. Do not rush to rebuild a new self. First, gather what remains of you now. Notice the small truths that survive the storm, the values that still hold meaning, the comforts that still soothe you, the relationships that still feel safe. These are your anchor points. Even if they are few, they are enough. Let them remind you that you are still here. You are not erased. You are not blank. You are simply unfolding. Unfolding takes time. Begin with one question at a time. What still feels like you? What no longer does? Which activities leave you lighter? Which ones leave you drained? Notice without judgment. Noticing is an act of care. It shows your scattered self that she matters, that you are willing to listen now. Listening is the first way back. Listen to your body, to the way it tenses or softens. Listen to your heart rate, to the way it quickens around certain people. Listen to your thoughts, to the words you repeat when no one hears. Listening is not always comfortable. You may hear sadness. You may hear anger. You may hear grief you tried to bury. Let those voices speak. They are not trying to harm you. They are trying to tell you what needs tending. Tending is not fixing. Tending is showing up, sitting with what is, holding it like a small, fragile thing. At first, this feels strange. You are used to running from discomfort or pushing past it. But running keeps you disconnected. Pushing keeps you exhausted. Sitting begins the healing. It says, I am here, even for the hard parts. You will not feel ready, but you are. You are ready because you are here. Presence is the proof. Once you can sit with what is, you start choosing. Choosing what stays and what leaves. Choosing what version of you deserves to grow. Not everything will come back. Some pieces belong to a chapter that has ended. It is painful to release them. But release makes space for what fits now. Letting go is not betrayal. It is respect for who you are becoming. Respect for the ways you've been changed. Changed by loss, by love, by time. Change does not erase your core. Your core is what chooses how to respond. And now, you are choosing intentionally. Intention brings light into the fog. You begin to see yourself not as lost, but as shifting closer to alignment. Alignment feels quieter than you expect. It does not shout, it whispers. This feels right. You start noticing those whispers more often. A hobby that feels good again. A song that feels like it belongs to you. A conversation that feels like sunlight. These are the threads you follow back. Thread by thread, you weave a sense of self again. The weaving is not quick, but slow weaving is stronger. Does not unravel at the first pull because it was made with care. Care is what was missing before. You gave care to everyone else. Now you give some of it to yourself. This care feeds the self you are meeting. The self who does not need to perform. The self who does not apologize for changing. The self who does not pretend to be unshaken. This self feels more honest than the old one. She may feel quieter, but she is truer. She may feel softer, but she is stronger. Strength now comes from gentleness, not force. You no longer chase an image of who you were. You invite who you are becoming. And this invitation is healing, because it is rooted in acceptance. Acceptance of the past and its impact. Acceptance of the present and its uncertainty. Acceptance that you are allowed to grow in ways no one planned. You begin to meet yourself each morning, not as who you were, not as who you should be, simply as who you are today. This meeting becomes a quiet ritual. It reminds you to stay present. Presence builds trust. Trust grows where self-abandonment ends. Self-abandonment once felt safer, kept you from disappointment, it kept you from judgment, but it also kept you from you. So now you practice staying. Staying when the old fears rise. Staying when the doubts grow loud. Staying when shame tries to pull you back. Shame says you are broken, but brokenness is not truth. Brokenness is only the name pain gave you. You are not broken. You're rebuilding. Rebuilding starts small. A walk outside instead of isolation. A journal page instead of silence. A breath before reacting. These are small, but they matter. They show you that you can choose. Choice restores agency. Agency was taken when you lost your sense of self. Now, you take it back, gently. By deciding what matters to you now, and letting that shape your days. Values shape identity more than labels. Labels shift. Values root. What do you want your life to reflect? Not what others expect. What you want. Write those values somewhere visible. Look at them when you feel lost. They will guide you like quiet beacons. They will remind you what is worth your energy. Energy spent on alignment nourishes you. Energy spent on performance drains you. Choose nourishment. Choose honesty over image. Honesty gives peace. Image gives anxiety. The world rewards image, but your soul rewards honesty. Begin living for that reward. Feel steadier than applause. Applause fades. Integrity stays. And integrity is who you become. You stop asking who you should be. You start asking what feels true. Truth changes shape as you grow. This is not failure. This is evolution. Identities are living things. They shift as seasons shift. You stop resisting that shift. You begin flowing with it. Flow eases the tension in your chest. It gives room for curiosity again. Curiosity opens doors shame closed. You peek into new spaces, try new roles, explore new interests. At first you feel unsure, but uncertainty means you are alive, and life requires risk. Risk teaches resilience. You survive the discomfort. You come out stronger, softer, clearer. You begin to see patterns. Which parts of you feel aligned? Which parts feel false? You adjust gently, letting go of what feels false, leaning toward what feels real. Real feels calm. Real feels steady. Real feels like breathing without effort. You want more of that feeling, so you follow it. Even when others question your direction, your confusion is not your compass. Your peace is your compass. And peace points you forward. Toward relationships that honor your truth. Toward work that aligns with your values. Toward habits that sustain your spirit. Each step roots you deeper into yourself, until you stop searching for who you were. Because you have grown into who you are, and you recognize this person again. She feels like home. You start noticing where you feel safe, not where you pretend safety. where your body relaxes without trying. Those places are clues. They show you where belonging lives. Belonging is not performance. Belonging is permission to be quiet, to be uncertain, to be still. You used to chase approval. Approval kept you moving. Moving kept you from feeling. Feeling threatened the mask. But masks grow heavy, and they keep you lonely. So you set the mask down, slowly, carefully, like removing armor. Armor once saved you. Thank it for that. But you do not need to wear it forever. Beneath the armor is your softness. Softness is not weakness. Softness is how you connect. You let someone see that softness. Their gaze does not hurt you. It holds you. You begin trusting that gaze. Trust feels unfamiliar, but warm. And warmth calls you closer. You take another step toward them, then another until you are standing inside their care. Fear softens the fear. Fear had made you hide. Now you feel seen. Being seen no longer feels dangerous. It feels like air after drowning. You breathe deeper. Each breath says, I belong. Belonging does not demand perfection. It only asks for presence. You offer your presence. Imperfect. Honest. Enough. And they welcome it. That welcome soothes the old exile. You carried exile like a shadow. Told you were too much or not enough, or both at once. Exile was never truth. It was pain misunderstood. Now pain finds language. And language makes space. Space where your whole self can exist. You no longer divide yourself. No more fragments. No more hiding the unpolished pieces. They belong to. Belonging includes your flaws, includes your doubts, includes your silence. You stop trying to earn it. You simply rest in it. Resting feels new. You thought you had to keep proving. Proving kept you tired. Rest renews you. And in that renewal, identity blooms. Identity thrives in acceptance, not in striving, not in fear, only in love. So you choose love, not the loud kind, the steady kind, the quiet care you offer yourself. You speak gently inside your own mind. Words that once cut now soothe. You treat yourself like someone you want to keep, because you do. This shift changes everything. Self-kindness rebuilds your foundation. From that foundation, you rise, not back to who you were, forward to who you are becoming. Becoming no longer feels frightening. It feels like homecoming. Homecoming to yourself, to your body, to your voice, to your belonging. You belong even as you change. You belong because you are here. Morning feels different now. Not lighter yet, but less heavy. The weight no longer pins you down. You sit up slowly and greet yourself with care. You whisper, we're still here. That sentence feels like a victory. Being here is enough today. Enough to keep going. You open the window. Let new air touch old wounds. The air smells like rain. Rain reminds you of cycles. How endings feed beginnings. How soil softens before growth. Your soul is softening too. Soft enough for seeds. You do not rush the planting. Move gently. You choose seeds with care. Seeds of rest. Seeds of honesty. Seeds of slow joy. You press them into the quiet, trusting they will root unseen. Not everything must be visible to be real. Healing is often hidden. Change begins beneath the surface, so you give it time. Time without judgment. Time without urgency. Time with tenderness. You stop measuring progress. Progress was a cage. Now you walk free. Free to pause. Free to wander. Free to start again. Starting again does not mean failure. It means choosing life again, and you are choosing. Even when fear whispers. Fear whispers, but hope hums. You turn toward the hum. Hope hums like steady breath. It holds you when the future feels unclear. It says you will not stay lost. You hold that message close like a hand in your pocket, hidden but warm. It warms your steps. Take those steps slowly. Slow is not weak. Slow is sustainable. Sustainability is what heals, so you move gently forward. Each day a single stone in the path. You lay them with care. Care shapes your new life. This life honors your pace. This life listens when you are tired. This life makes room for silence. Silence is no longer emptiness. It is space for becoming. In that space, you notice beauty again. Sunlight on a cup, leaves trembling in wind, the rhythm of your own breath. Beauty was always here. You would stop seeing it. Numbness had closed your eyes. Now they open. Slowly, gently, to color, to texture, to life. Life feels fragile and strong at once, like you. You begin to smile without forcing. Laughter comes back like soft rain, not loud, but real. Real is enough. Enough to remind you you're alive. And aliveness is precious. Precious things need care, so you care for yourself, not as a task, as devotion. Devotion rebuilds what fear broke. Love grows where devotion roots. Love for your small steps. Love for your shifting self. Love for this quiet return. You are returning not to who you were, to who you are becoming with hope. This is quiet philosophy, where thinking isn't loud, and life doesn't need to be either. Subscribe if you haven't already, not for noise, but for something you can actually feel.